United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy 1 month off, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't even get to do my precursor throat clearing. You just jumped right into this.
Sorry.
I'm not even ready anymore.
Happy 1 month off. So sorry to everyone. But you know what I will say? I look back at the things that have happened to me in the last 30 calendar days.
Yeah, Noelle's lived a whole year.
And I say, many people would not survive this. Many people would not survive it. And I'm not even trying to suck my own dick, but like, I'm being so real. Many people would not survive. And a lot of people would have tapped out when their car's transmission blew for the second time in 2 years and they got a $26,000 invoice. Many people would have tapped out then, not me, and not my life. My life said, get ready for the races, bitch, because this is one out of 20 things that are going to go absolutely fuck ass in your life. And you've still got to wake up and go to your job, which is going to demand you get on a plane and fly somewhere for it, and get eaten alive by bugs. And that is what it's like to be me. So while some things were neglected, like my mental health, my hairline, this podcast, my bed sheets, many things sustained and survived and made it through. And for that, I am thankful. So if you're still here after all of that, thanks for letting us take a break, because I wouldn't have been able to do this without it.
Yeah, Noelle seriously has been going through it. I tried to help a little bit, and then that made my life bad. And that was just a little snapshot.
Can I also say, sometimes when I think about like how hard some things can be that I'm currently doing, I'm like, you're being a baby, you're being a fucking crybaby bitch. And then you got the opportunity to come along to one of them with me.
Yeah.
And you were on the verge of a mental breakdown after one day. And I said, I'm so validated. I'm so validated. Like,
yeah.
Thank fucking God. I was thankful for your mental breakdown, because I was like, dude, I'm right. I knew I wasn't being dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, it's the reason why I got an Aura ring. I gaslight myself into thinking I'm like not sick.
Fitbit doesn't even do that shit. My Fitbit was like, are you okay?
Yeah, like straight up.
We got the job done though, like fucking professionals.
We sure did.
So, but that was awful. And I never want to do that again.
And it never stops. So, but that's my job, girl. That is my everyday. Anyway, and that's just one of many things. So shout out, appreciate it. Sawi. And hey, what's up? My name's Noelle, and I am the vintage cup design, the vintage can design of the newly released Diet Cherry Coke. Truly, never kill yourself. Look at this. Look at what we have. Look at this eighth wonder of the world. Yeah.
Dude, I can't with the no sugar, fake sugar diet stuff. And I'm Chelsea. If it can't be classic Coke, then it's going to be green tea.
And you are so
with
white
probiotics. With probiotics.
Oh, okay. Speaking of probiotics and things that you can do to better your health, unsponsored ad. Emergency, like Emergency, the packets.
Yeah.
They came out with basically what I can only describe as emergency pop rocks. They come in travel size pouches. You rip them open and you just pour them down your fucking gullet dry, and they pop and they are delicious. And that's how I actually haven't died this month, is because I've been taking those every day.
That does sound amazing. When I had to write my bio for Comic-Con Fanix, I really wanted to do that. The highlight of my entire life was chewing down Emergency with Jim Starlin, but I didn't. But I'll say it here.
Yeah, and that's actually a highlight of life that I think you should highlight.
Best day of my life. And you want to know what? I had done that before in my life, because I don't like to take pills. So I had chewed Alka-Seltzer, which is significantly worse.
That's fucking crazy.
So when I maintained eye contact with Jim Starlin and I just dry chewed down Emergency.
Do you want to go ahead?
and I passed.
You want to go ahead and let everyone know Jim Starlin is a comic artist and writer. He is, I mean, I most know him for like Infinity War and Death in the Family, Batman's Death in the Family, which is one of my favorite series ever. But like, I think he's done a million other things. What would you say Jim Starlin is most known for?
Thanos.
Well, that's why, because I hate Thanos. I think Thanos is stupid.
Well, Jim Starlin, I think you nailed it. Like any story that you think of, or in comic books, if you love comics, or anything that you saw in the Marvel universe that went well, including that entire game plan that led up to Endgame,
Hmm.
Jim Starlin had a hand in it. And not only that, but he is a genuinely good dude. They say don't meet your heroes. I could agree with that until I met Jim Starlin, and fucking thumbs up. Like such a cool dude. So nice. So just really, I could have died that day and I would have died fulfilled. Just eating emergency with Mr.
I was
Starlin.
gonna say, but instead you
I
ate
lived
emergency raw.
like a cat.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to do that now. Also, I would love to point out that Chelsea's fear of pills, it's awesome behind her physical and mental and emotional need to take pills every day. So I think that's really cool and fun. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
um,
I get the powder shit. Like you guys
mhm.
got to get into the goodies because it's just powdered ibuprofen and
I
Tylenol.
am not taking powdered ibuprofen when I can swallow it in 2 seconds and it's
Well, then fine.
tasteless. So,
All right. Well, touche. But not all of us can do that.
yeah, some of us are adults.
So,
So, so anyway, um, this episode this was brought on by a listener, right?
yes, this was listener recommended. Let's go ahead and jump into it because it's going to be a long one.
I know we might have to turn it into 2 parts. I'll start a timer now after we've said all of the bullshit. And I think once we hit an hour, we'll probably stop it. See, we'll see where we're at. We might stop
Yeah,
into a part two.
because yeah. We'll see.
We'll
So,
see.
um, behind the closed doors of a seemingly innocuous religious community in Oregon City, a conspiracy has been unfolding for decades. And this isn't your typical Sunday sermon congregation. This is the followers of Christ, a group that has perfected the art of spiritual manipulation and transformed faith into a weapon of control, leaving a trail of preventable deaths that would shock even the most hardened investigators. And shout out to our listener, Tsunami, who sent us down this rabbit hole. Because on this episode, we are exposing a death cult masquerading as a church, a group so dangerous that former members don't just leave, they flee, knowing that speaking out loud could cost them everything that they've ever known. As one survivor, Myra Cunningham, declared to KATU News, it's actually a cult, and I do believe, and they're afraid to leave, and it's sad. This is fucking good quote. It
Yeah,
is
it's
sad.
really profound. Really
Um,
profound stuff there.
and the statistics alone should terrify you because over a 35-year period, the Oregonian newspaper investigation revealed that of 78 minors buried in the church's private graveyard, 21 probably would have lived with medical intervention, often as simple as antibiotics.
A tale as old as time in current day modern America.
Insane. This cemetery, according to Time magazine, may represent one of the largest concentrations of faith healing related fatalities in decades. You highlighted it. I got
Oh,
worried.
wow.
I was like, why are you highlighting what I'm saying?
Well, I was going to think about it a little bit more because, and we'll probably dissect it later, but I know that there are religious organizations who don't believe in medical intervention,
Yeah.
i.e., blood transfusions, even when they can be easy and life-saving, right? I don't know if you would consider them within this same orbit of faith-related deaths because I think these guys specifically do faith healing related fatalities in a similar way that some might say exorcisms for Catholicism or the like venom motherfuckers in the Appalachia.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I would have to dive more into it, but I would make a sweeping generalization that to say that it is playing God to use medicine to heal is the same as playing God and making decisions to turn down life-saving measures for your children.
And that's kind of where I was at. I was kind of like, maybe some people would disagree and they would say a religion that doesn't believe in using certain medical practices is different than a religion that uses quote unquote faith healing.
Yeah.
But I put them in the same bubble. The Venn diagram is a circle to me, and I think you're on
Yeah.
the same page.
It's just like parents who don't vaccinate their kids. I think that that's like an act of that's you say you're pro-life, but you're not lifing
The
in
pro.
with the pros, man. You're out here playing pee-wee football when you should be in the NFL of pro-lifers by
Yeah.
just vaccinating your kids. But,
Yep.
I digress. Um, because then those kids don't grow up to continue the shitty legacy that their parents have
Yeah, the
instilled into them.
lineage. My
The
favorite
lineage dies with them.
my favorite thing is seeing stories of kids who grew up in anti-vax households who the moment they turned 16 went and got vaccinated. I think that is
Yeah, and my home is
iconic.
waiting to adopt one of them in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah. Welcome them, welcome in.
Yeah, so, but the true horror lies not in just the numbers. It's in the systematic psychological torture that keeps families trapped, watching their children die while church elders whisper prayers over gasping, suffering bodies. As recently as 2023, investigators were still responding to newborn deaths linked to this organization, with the sheriff's office spokesperson, Brian McCall, stating that this is still an open investigation, so there's no further information we can release at this time.
You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of when Joseph Smith was starting his tour, and he was in that church down south. Like it was an evangelical establishment, and this couple brought in their, I don't know a better way to say it, dead baby.
Yeah.
And they were like, "We heard that you're a faith healer. Save our baby." And he was like, "You fucking bet I can." And sat there for, I think it was something ridiculous, like 2 hours, praying over and like speaking
Yeah.
in special languages to try to bring back this dead baby. And that's what that made me think of.
Yeah. He had to have him pray that long so that he had time to get away.
It's so
Uh,
true.
so this, what we were talking about tonight, is the story of the followers of Christ, where belief has become bondage and faith has become fatal. And the followers of Christ didn't emerge from some ancient, forgotten cult buried in dusty history books. This is a modern nightmare that was carefully constructed by men who understood that the most effective way to control people is to convince them that questioning authority means questioning God himself. It began in the late 1800s in Chanute. It
I
began in Kansas.
I don't think it's Chanute, I'll tell you that.
Chanute of Kansas, with a figure who called himself General Marion Reese. The military title was self-proclaimed for totally stolen valor, which is a red flag that should have warned anyone of the authoritarian mindset that would define this organization for generations. And for Kansas, the movement strategically relocated to Ringwood, Oklahoma, and in the 1890s, which was a calculated move that allowed the group to consolidate their power away from prying eyes and operate with less scrutiny. I genuinely did not know that a move from Kansas to Oklahoma would be any different.
Yeah, I
Are
almost
those
think
not
of
the
them
same
the
state to
same.
you?
Yeah, they're the same state to me.
We're so uneducated. Like Kansas and Oklahoma and Tennessee could all just be a coin flip to me.
Yeah, I think they're like the plains, right? There's
Yeah.
just, if you don't have a mountain distinguished between you, what even are you? You're just land. You're just the same road with a line that says this is here and this is there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, Utah's really no
Sorry.
different from Idaho.
And that's the
We can
T.
turn, yeah, we can turn it we can be internal with our critiques as well. And the leadership passed like a dark inheritance through the Morris family dynasty. First to elder John Marshall Morris, then to his son Marion Morris, who maintained the iron-fisted control until his death in 1988. And that's when I was born. And then I took over, motherfucker. And this wasn't coincidence, it was design. Keeping power within select bloodlines is a hallmark of controlling organizations, ensuring that authority never faces genuine challenge from outsiders. But the true architect of terror was Walter White, a man so consumed with power that he proclaimed from the pulpit that I am Jesus of Nazareth, be faithful, be faithful. That seems problematic if you're a real Christian, but I digress. Time magazine described him as an authoritarian, apocalypse preaching pastor known as the Apostle who died in 1969. Died the year of a pervert because he probably was a pervert. And think about think about the psychological manipulation required to convince a congregation that their pastor is literally Jesus Christ. And this wasn't spiritual guidance, it was the complete usurpation of divine authority by a mortal man drunk on control.
And my personal and humble opinion, I think that's any religious leader, but I digress. I'm also not going to not acknowledge the name Walter White.
Yeah. I gave you a pause.
I was just waiting because I was like, girl, interesting how that is the way it is. But I would say, much like modern religions, cough Mormons cough, he claimed to have visions and dreams implanted by God. And that's still something that, our good old friends still believe in to this day. One specifically that welcomed Hilton, the 12 founding apostles, which is where we get his new title of the apostle. There are churches in Idaho, Northern California, Oregon City, and a few others. But there was a leader in the Idaho branch that cheated on his wife. And Walter White said something along the lines of, if you don't come to my congregation, you're fucked, because like all of these other congregations are ruled by cheating adulterers, which, I bet he was really throwing stones in a glass house. But this was his move to get like a solid power grab on the congregations. A former member of the Followers of Christ said, it's kind of like a mix of Mormonism and Catholicism because they believe in apostolic succession, which is the belief that the authority of bishops can be traced back to the original apostles of Jesus Christ through an unbroken line of ordination. And that's like a big Catholic thing. And they believe in baptismal regeneration, or as Mormons might know it as baptisms for the dead. So I really love when people just say, art is never original. Yeah. It's always inspired by other things.
You can copy my homework, but make it a little different.
And they don't believe in the reformation of the churches as it is today. They think that it's like their apostles are directly linked to Peter and Paul and are the only true church. So they never had a break off. It's always been, despite there being like no historical evidence of them existing pre 1800s.
Despite them being created in a pop up in Kansas.
Yeah, despite them being a pop up with a strategic and specific date attached to them, they actually say, wrong. Those are our haters telling you that. We have been here since the dawn of time. And by dawn of time, I mean dawn of Jesus. So they are the first church of like the Pentecost. I don't know what the Pentecost is. So if you guys know, they're like that. Unlike Joseph Smith, where he was told, don't go to the other churches, they're corrupt. To them, there is literally no other church. And that's a hard thing to understand, where it's like other churches will acknowledge, you know what I mean? Just like how Judaism acknowledges like Jesus Christ, but not as like the second coming, but as an apostle. These guys, the followers of Christ, are like, no, you guys don't get it. Like those other ones literally don't exist, which is an interesting tactic, I say.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, doesn't make too much sense since they were created in the 1800s and there's like a written history showing when they didn't exist to when the specific day started that they did. But making sense of a religion has never been an easy thing for me, so I'm not going to try to connect the dots here. Another thing is that they don't fuck with, I don't know how to pronounce that.
I don't know what I Googled it. Do you mean just crosses?
No. Oh yeah, I misspelled that.
Okay. I Googled crosses.
I was like, girl, what?
Like, I don't know what that is.
I was like, I don't know how to say that. I don't even know what that is. No, they don't fuck with crosses. And they say that that's a Catholic thing and it's offensive. It's offensive to have pictures of the way that Jesus died, which I
They
actually
sound
think
like
is,
Mormons.
yeah, isn't that like a Mormon thing
That's
too?
literally what the Mormons say. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, because they're like it's like worshiping a gun to them.
Well, that's
So
kind of punk rock. Don't be pussies.
that's what I say.
Um, and what's more American than worshiping a gun? White's reign of terror established the Oregon City branch as the most isolated and dangerous faction of the followers. And after his death in 1969, the church deliberately chose to function without a minister, creating an even more insular environment where White's toxic teachings became enshrined as infallible doctrine. No new members were allowed, which is crazy, and no outside influence was permitted. The community became a closed system, feeding on its own paranoia and fear.
Isn't that an FLDS thing too? Like since Warren Jeffs has been in prison, he's like, no more, you guys. Like he won't let people get married. He won't let people have kids. He won't let people join because he is so upset that he's in jail that he won't let the FLDS flourish. It's the same thing here. Like he's so paranoid and pissed off that he won't even let the cult grow.
Yeah, it's just going to become an isolationist type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense though, because once you get the people you need for sustaining, you don't want anyone to call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the easiest people to control are like the hills have eyes.
Yeah,
And you
the
just start
desperate, the
fucking,
desperate,
well, you
and
just
the
start I don't know what's the interbreeding. Like
yeah, the
you just start
yeah,
making fucking labradoodles like of
yeah,
people.
right. Oh my God, yeah. Um, and former members have hinted at disturbing allegations that some church elders profited financially from their spiritual authority. No shit. Whispers persist of tithes demanded from the poorest families, mysterious property transfers, and cash only transactions that left congregants destitute while their leaders lived in quiet comfort.
That sounds
What?
awfully familiar.
And if true, big if true, this reveals the conspiracy's true nature, not salvation, but sustaining a hidden economy under the veil of righteousness. How many billions does the church own now?
Which one is the
Yeah.
real fucking question?
This group even maintains its own cemetery, a final resting place that serves as a silent monument to their deadly beliefs. But journalists and whistleblowers have raised disturbing questions about the burial records that appear incomplete or altered.
Oh my God. Sorry if that sounded crazy.
I'm trying to fucking work
Sorry if that
here,
sounded crazy.
and
My
you're over
microphone
here,
just fell.
you're doing calisthenics while I'm trying to fucking teach people
No, I
about
have
this nonsense.
7,000 chords over here. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well,
Anyway.
some allege there may be unmarked graves, children buried without documentation, their deaths never officially investigated. And if these claims prove true, we may never know the full extent of this organization's death toll. And the followers of Christ have weaponized scripture itself, twisting biblical passages about faith healing into a mandate for medical neglect that has claimed dozens of innocent lives. And this isn't simply about religious preference, it's about a sophisticated system of control that uses the threat of eternal damnation to ensure compliance with deadly doctrine.
I know that you're saying like this to sound like profound and scary, but like to my eyes, Mama, that's what they all do. Remove the followers of Christ and just put any fucking modern religion.
Yeah. I think that any religion or belief system that is punitive doesn't make sense.
I mean,
So if like you do X, you're gonna get punished with Z. Breaks my brain.
I agree.
Why
So,
would you follow that?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know at everyone.
If taking Flintstone vitamins is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Exactly. You know, and I've been saying that.
Yeah, put that on a shirt. So, at the core of their beliefs lies a Pentecostal foundation emphasizing literal interpretation of scripture, including faith healing, prayer, and the laying on of hands by church elders. But here's where the conspiracy reveals its true sinister nature. Because unlike other faith healing denominations that might encourage spiritual healing alongside medical care, The followers of Christ, particularly the Oregon City and Caldwell branches, have made medical intervention a sin punishable by complete social exile. And the punishment for seeking medical care isn't just disapproval. It's shunning, a brutal form of psychological warfare that 100% strips individuals of their entire support system. And remember, these people are already closed off. So you're removing them even further from society. So imagine the impossible choice where you're either watching your child die in agony or you lose your family, your community, your spiritual home forever. And it's not faith, it's extortion using the most powerful currency imaginable, which is just the human need to be loved and to belong.
And what I found interesting about this is I watched some bits of interviews because there are some former members of Follower of Christ who have like gone on podcasts and stuff and been interviewed by the news. And there was a woman named Myra who was raised in the Followers of Christ. And she was like, well, it's a gray area with the medical stuff because like we couldn't go to the doctor per se, but we could go to a dentist or an optometrist. And it was specifically like a medical or medicinal doctor that they weren't allowed to go see because they could save your life. So the treatment was all dependent on like the severity of what you were going through, which to me is even more evil because it's like, you know, your brother gets to go to his annual cleanings, it gets fillings, but you have a fever and can't take Tylenol and die. So it's interesting there. And the responsibility of if you survived was left to God. She also talked about asking leaders of the church to point out specifically where in the Bible it would say that, like about the medical shit and the discerning between what you can and can't do. And of course, like anyone who exercises critical thinking in these types of churches or cults, none of them could or would or even acknowledge it. They would just be like, how dare you question the word of God, which again sounds awfully fucking familiar. And she would get punished in some way, shape, or form for questioning it. She also mentioned how people outside of the church were called worldlings, which is another dog whistle to a cult and another dog whistle to similarities to some religions we may know very well and live very close to. Anytime a group comes up with their own vernacular, it's a sign of a cult. Scientology is the one that most people can point to and agree on that they're kooky dooky and have weird fucking words for everything. But this is a telltale sign. When they start coming up with their own glossary terms for shit, it's a telltale sign that it's a cult because they're trying to create an in group and an out group.
Yeah. An easy way to just ostracize you and make you an other. Exactly. It's the same thing the fucking MAG is doing right now.
Exactly.
You're poor because of this.
And Walter White would say, like, anyone who wasn't in this specific church is going to hell, which I think is a through line for a lot of religions, honestly. Yeah. But it's a technical deviation from the Bible because the way to heaven is through Christ, but for them, it's through the church. So, but again, I think that's also kind of a familiar sentence. But
very familiar.
Thinking about how this cult doesn't actively recruit, which again makes you kind of think about how incestuous it is. Also explains how they greet each other with what Myra described as being called a holy kiss. So that's how the elders in the followers of Christ greet everyone.
That's so disgusting.
Yeah,
I fucking hate that so
like,
bad.
Fucking disgusting.
Oh, like wide open chasms of their like toothless mouths. So multiple ex members have hinted at physical discipline being used as righteous correction and not just spiritual guidance, but forceful, sometimes violent enforcement of doctrine. And while these claims are difficult to prove, they do raise terrifying questions about what happens behind closed doors if we're hearing about it, and how far the followers are willing to go to maintain absolute control. And the group's obsession with apocalyptic thinking adds another layer of psychological manipulation. Some say that their refusal to seek modern medicine is rooted not just in faith, but in fear, a doctrinal obsession with the end times that has reportedly pervaded sermons and gatherings. Like, why prepare for tomorrow when the world is destined to end in fire and judgment?
That's a really good way to like justify being lazy as well. I'm not going to clean my room because the earth is going to burn tomorrow. So what's the
Yeah,
fucking
right.
point?
I'm not going to pay my taxes. I am paying my taxes though to the IRS. That was a joke.
The
That was a
IRS is
joke.
showing up. Oh my God, did you hear that? The IRS is at your door
Yeah.
right now.
No, I pay them. So the doomsday mentality creates a perfect storm of fatalism that makes medical neglect seem not just acceptable, but spiritually necessary. And perhaps the most damning evidence of the conspiracy lies in the hypocrisy, because it has been alleged that many followers in a clandestine way seek medical help, defying the very teachings that they outwardly uphold. So, if the elders themselves are secretly seeing doctors while demanding their followers watch children die, what does that reveal about their true convictions?
They're just like every other religious organization.
Exactly. It ultimately exposes a system where rules apply differently to different people. A classic power dynamic where those at the top protect themselves while sacrificing those below. And the male dominated structure ensures that power remains concentrated amongst a select few, with little accountability for those making life and death decisions for entire families. Children raised within the church attend public schools initially, but once they reach middle school age, they are actively discouraged from socializing outside the church. This systematic isolation is a critical step in the indoctrination process, creating a social bubble where questioning authority becomes literally unthinkable. And the true horror of the followers of Christ isn't just found in their twisted theology. It's written in the tombstones of children who died needlessly, their small bodies sacrificed on the altar of adult delusion and bullshit for control. For decades, authorities in Oregon noticed a disturbing pattern that would make any person's blood run cold, which was an unusually high mortality rate, high morals,
And
more,
morality. I don't
yeah,
think they were excited about it.
mortality rate amongst children within this seemingly innocuous religious group. Larry Lumen, a former medical examiner who became a whistleblower, revealed the shocking truth that over a 10-year period, 25 children died due to the complete lack of medical intervention. Let that number sink in for a minute. 25 innocent little lives extinguished not by incurable diseases, but by a twisted interpretation of faith that forbade basic medical care. This represented a death rate 26 times higher than amongst the general population, which was a full blown massacre hidden in plain sight under the cloak of religious freedom. And after taking the medical examiner position in 1986, Lumen encountered what he described as painful, tortuous deaths that sometimes lasted days, if not weeks. So imagine the psychological trauma of witnessing child after child die in agony while adults stood by, convinced that calling 911 would damn their souls. Kind of cowards, if you ask me.
Always.
I just don't have sympathy. Watching little kids die, fuck you.
Yeah, wouldn't you be like, I guess I'll rot in hell so my kid could get medical attention? I'll take that
Exactly.
L.
Go to hell, pussy. If I have to burn for eternity so that my kid doesn't die a needless and like horrible death, then do it. That's what you sign up for when you're a parent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and the Oregonians' investigation confirmed the nightmare that at least 21 out of 78 minors buried in the church cemetery died from preventable causes. And these weren't complex medical mysteries requiring advanced intervention. We're talking about super simple infections that could have been cured with routine antibiotics, which meant that a fever became a death sentence, a cough became a prelude to the grave. 38 of those 78 children died within their first year of life, many so quickly that they never even received first names. So they're only buried with placards simply reading Baby Girl White or Baby Boy Morris. And emergency workers recall horrifying face offs with church members who tried to persuade them not to take injured fellow worshippers to the hospital. So picture the scene: paramedics arriving to find a dying child, only to be confronted by adults who viewed life saving medical care as spiritual betrayal. And the Oregonian documented complaints about followers' children arriving at school with home set bone breaks, evidence of a community so committed to medical neglect that they would rather let their children suffer with improperly healed fractures than seek professional treatment.
My understanding of this is only through like special victims unit, but is there oh, I don't know. How can I say this? Can you not forcibly intervene with medical attention if they claim that it's because of religion that they don't want you to do it? Like, can the state intervene and treat you? But if your parents or caretakers, whoever, says, well, it's because of our religion, at that point, do they have to back off?
I don't know. So I just Googled, can you forcibly make someone treat you against your religion? And the Department of Justice says that, except in the narrowest circumstances, no one should be forced to choose between living out his or her faith and complying with the law. But I
What
don't,
the fuck does that mean? What the
I
fuck
don't know.
type of
You know what?
fucking fortune cookie ass answer was that?
But remember when the COVID vaccine came out and people were like, oh, it's against my religion to take the
Yeah,
vaccine?
but like,
And
but that was still a gray area, right? Because like it was preventable. It wasn't the cure.
yeah, I don't know. There has to be, was Terry Schiavo a religious thing?
Like I even think of, and this is why I say my only understanding is through Special Victims Unit. Because like, let's say you're a Jehovah's Witness, right? And you don't believe in blood transfusions, but
Yeah.
every medical professional is saying with 100% certainty the only way to save you is through a blood transfusion. But your parents are saying no. Can the state come in and be the advocate for you and say, actually, it doesn't matter what you think, we're going through with it? Or is it because we have these fucking wackadoodle religious laws that if they say that it's because of religion, they get the pass and like that person can die?
I think I think that the state can sue to intervene in those cases, but I don't
But then that's also
know.
time, and if it's an emergency, you don't really have time to go to court about it.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Because isn't that like a 5150 hold or whatever?
Well,
No, 5150 is murder, but
that
they
no, that's
can,
dangerous to yourself or someone else.
yeah, so they can like intervene really quick to take away your own rights. But that's not like a religious thing. I don't know.
Anyway, go on. I'm gonna look it
Chelsea
up.
and Noel go to hell at gmail.com. Go ahead. Just so you know. But this pattern isn't just limited to Oregon. Similar high death rates have been observed amongst followers of Christ members in Idaho and Oklahoma, which only reveals a systematic problem that spans multiple states. It's coordinated negligence on a massive scale. And one of the most heartbreaking testimonies comes from someone named Russ Briggs, a father who lost two sons to the church's deadly doctrine. Standing in the cemetery where his children are buried, his voice cracking with grief, he told Time magazine that those two right there, those are my boys. I could have saved them, but I let them die. And it's the confession of a man who realizes he was manipulated into becoming complicit in his own children's deaths. And the legal system initially provided no protection for these children. Oregon, like many states, oh, here we go, had laws
Okay.
protecting parents. It's been so long, bitch. Let's be real. This had the Oregon, like many states, has laws protecting parents who practice faith healing from prosecution, which really was just legal loopholes that granted immunity from manslaughter charges to parents whose children died due to a reliance on prayers over medicine. Terry Gustafson, a district attorney for the Oregon City area, captured the absurdity perfectly. That if you and I had committed the exact same crime against our own child, we would be looking at 25 years in the penitentiary. Yet, Gustafson refused to prosecute, calling it futile due to Oregon's religious exemption statute. And the deaths continued into the 21st century. In fact, in March 2008, 15-month-old Ava Worthington died of pneumonia, leading to manslaughter charges against her parents. And just 3 months later, Ava's 16-year-old uncle, Neil Bagley, died from a treatable bladder blockage, and neither family sought medical help. And these aren't ancient tragedies. Again, these are modern murders disguised as religious practice. As recently as 2017, the pattern persisted. Sarah Mitchell, 24, gave birth to twins at her parents' home, and one of the twins died just hours after birth, struggling to breathe while adults prayed instead of calling for medical help. And according to KATU News, neither the mother, Mitchell, nor any of the midwives called 911 when the girl, born prematurely, struggled to breathe. It was only when a church elder called the medical examiner did anyone with medical training become involved. And by then, it was too late for one child. The medical examiner managed to convince the family to seek professional care for the surviving twin. The most recent case occurred in 2023 when the Clackamas County Sheriff's deputies responded to yet another newborn death linked to the followers of Christ. And the investigation revealed the same family pattern: a family associated with the church, a preventable death, and a community that continues to prioritize doctrine over human life. Former member Myra Cunningham, who nearly died multiple times due to medical neglect, told KATU News that it's too bad it's still happening. There's so many children in their graveyard. They have their own graveyard. And her words carry the weight of someone who survived what many others did not. She's a living witness to a conspiracy that continues to claim human lives. And the most insidious aspect of the followers of Christ's conspiracy isn't just the death itself. It's the sophisticated psychological manipulation that makes those deaths possible. This organization has perfected techniques of mind control that would make totalitarian regimes envious, creating a system where parents willingly watch their children die rather than risk social exile. And the foundation of their control lies in systematic isolation. Again, children can attend public schools, but as soon as they reach middle school age, they are actively discouraged from socializing outside the church. And this calculated strategy prevents exposure to alternative viewpoints that might trigger critical thinking. The outside world is painted as dangerous, corrupt, and spiritually bankrupt, while the church is presented as the sole bastion of truth and salvation.
I have unfortunate news. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So about, can the state intervene? So competent adults in the United States generally have the constitutional right to refuse medical treatment for religious reasons. This is protected by both the First Amendment and medical ethics. So if you are a competent adult, which defined competent, you can refuse life-saving medical treatment and there's nothing anyone can do. So again, no state intervention there. If a mentally competent adult refuses something like a blood transfusion, knowing the risk, even if death is likely, the state typically cannot override that decision, even if others disagree or try to pressure them. For children, there is limited parental authority. So parents cannot refuse life-saving medical treatment for a child if the state deems it to be neglect or abuse. Courts have ruled that a child's right to live can override the parental's religious rights. So in emergency cases, hospitals can and often do go to court to get a temporary order allowing a transfusion, for example, a blood transfusion from a minor. In urgent situations, they can administer it immediately and seek legal protection afterwards. So
Interesting.
there are emergency exceptions. So if someone is unconscious or their wishes are unclear, like an advance directive or a religious card stating specific refusals, doctors may go ahead with any sort of life-saving procedure. Some jurisdictions allow emergency treatment if delay would mean death or irreversible harm, and there's no time to get a court order, which is called the state of necessity. So I think that's what also answered my question, because I'm like, okay, so the state goes to court to get a temporary order to be able to help you. What if you have fucking 6 hours? You know what I mean? Like, but that's
Yeah.
the state of necessity will
But it's
allow
also
them.
shitty that the state will even let it get that far. Like, at what point, I don't know, like, at what point does freedom that America loves to tote and boast about in the United States need to be taken away?
I mean, this
People,
is the
you know?
philosophical question of it all, right? If your freedom imposes on mine, is it considered freedom?
Yeah. Like, if I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that I have to pray for my kid and not get them antibiotics, I don't know. Isn't that so wild? Like,
It's I just don't under it's hard because like I understand for amendments, right? I love them. Constitution, yay! But if your freedom to religion, which I do agree with, I think everyone has the right to have a freedom of whatever religion they want, whether it's the fucking spaghetti monster or I don't know, whatever Catholics are doing nowadays. That does not fucking matter to me. But if your freedom to practice whatever religion you want means that, like, my childhood best friend dies from fucking treatable pneumonia,
Yeah.
I don't think that's considered freedom anymore. I think that's authoritarianism.
Yeah, it's like I can't get hammered and roll the dice on driving my car.
Yeah,
So why can people roll the dice on health?
you have the freedom. I think it's like, I think really the First Amendment should say, like, you have the freedom to fuck around, but that also means we have the freedom to make you find out. Like,
That's, yeah, that should be the
I
amendment.
think that's what we should edit it to say, because, like, yes, technically you have the freedom and autonomy to drive drunk, but that also means that we have the freedom and autonomy to fucking arrest you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's the fuck around and find out is really what
Yeah,
the
it needs
First
to be the
Amendment should be edited to.
yeah, it needs to be the FAFO clause,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, anyway, that
But
was
yeah,
upsetting to know.
anyway, this actually does is it creates the us versus them mentality where loyalty to the group becomes paramount and any dissent is viewed as betrayal of leadership and of God. Former members describe a psychological environment where questioning doctrine feels literally impossible, and it's not because of intellectual conviction, but because of conditioned terror. And the threat of shunning serves as the ultimate psychological weapon. Because for individuals raised within this church, the prospect of losing their entire social support system is more terrifying than death itself.
Oh, would you look at that?
I
Another
know.
similarity.
Interesting. And what are we talking about here? Are we talking about followers of Christ? We talk about Mormonism, we talk
Yeah.
about Scientology.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Um, And this fear ensures compliance even when members harbor serious doubt or witness practices that they know are wrong. One former member claims to possess audio recordings of meetings that were never meant to be heard by outsiders. And these recordings allegedly revealed disturbing sermons and discussions, making it clear that this was never about healing, but rather about obedience at any cost. And while these recordings haven't been made public, their alleged existence suggests that church leaders are fully aware of the deadly consequences of their doctrine and continue to enforce it anyway. And the emphasis on literal interpretation of scripture and legalism creates an environment where every aspect of life is dictated by rigid interpretations of ancient texts as filtered through the self appointed authority of church elders. So when these elders become the ultimate arbiters of divine will, questioning them becomes tantamount to questioning God, which creates an absolute system of obedience where critical thinking is replaced by blind adherence. And the psychological aftermath for survivors is devastating. One survivor describes to investigators waking up every night from the same nightmare, which was the sound of her little brother gasping for breath while elders laid hands and whispered prayers. And she said, I knew he needed a hospital, but I also knew if I spoke up, I'd be cast out. And he died. And I see his face every time I close my eyes.
Yikes, dude.
Ugh.
That's
And
dark.
yeah. And multiple ex members have described the complex grief and PTSD from losing siblings or children to preventable deaths. And the psychological burden of knowing that a simple phone call to 911 could have saved a loved one, but being too terrified of social consequences to make that call creates a form of trauma that can last lifetimes.
I know that these are like children a lot of the times who are in these situations, but I don't know, man. I feel like I would take the L. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I knew that I could call 911 and save my sibling's life, but that meant I would never see them again, okay, I take that, because the alternative is not seeing them again and
Ever?
they're dead.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? I just
right.
don't. I know that it's obviously a lot more complex than that because of the years of like psychological manipulation and brainwashing that'll make
Mm-hmm.
you do crazy things, but I don't know. I guess I don't think I would ever, peace and love my family, love big hard eyes for my family. If the threat of doing good was resulting in me losing my family, I would do it. I wouldn't care. Is that
Yeah.
weird?
I don't think so, but I also think that we're thinking through the rose-colored glasses of having parents that love us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so, but I agree with you. If somebody was like, you're gonna lose your social life as you know it, or your sister dies, I'd be like, okay,
Then
my
yeah.
social
My
life?
yeah, it's
I'll
it's
hang out with
the
my sister who's gonna live then. The fuck?
it's the Spider-Man of it all.
Mhm.
Like you can save everyone, but they will not know you. I think most of the time you would go, okay,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
Are
I
you
don't
really
know.
a hero if you need to be given recognition for the things that you do? I
That's what
think
I'm
not.
saying. That's what I'm saying. And I don't mean to be like, psychological in it all, but I feel like maybe that's the problem. A lot of people have to post on Instagram that they donated or volunteered for it to feel like
Hmm.
they did right. They can't just do it to do it. But I think I mean, that's one of the reasons why religion will never work on me because I don't need to have the threat of God or the threat of heaven and hell to be good or try to be good the best that I can. I don't do things for credits in God's fucking bank account. Like I think that we should just be kind to each other because we're all here suffering. Like,
Hmm.
but that's the fundamental difference between, me and someone who buys into religion is that they live their life preparing for death. They live their life hoping they get the punch card filled out and get the free walk into the pearly gates. I don't give a fuck. So I think like that's also a fundamental difference of it. If you truly, and this is also the thing that I struggle with when I think about like anti-LGBTQ plus legislation from religion because part of my brain understands that they genuinely believe. They genuinely think they're doing compassionate work. They think that they're humanitarians trying to save the world. They think that their bigoted hatred is the most honest and pure form of love because they're doing that to save you. They really think that. They probably think it in the same way that I think they're fucking batshit crazy. Like
Hmm.
it's the same level. And so it's tough because like I bet some of these people in the followers of Christ genuinely believe that like faith healing through hands will save them. So
Yeah.
they, you know what I mean? It's so hard, dude. The monkey brain of it all is like what's the toughest, like that's the hardest thing to get through because you can understand where they're coming from and how they got there,
Yeah.
but you can also be like, that's still fucking insane and wrong. I don't know.
It's absolutely insane. I couldn't imagine like a world where you just watch a sibling, listen to a sibling die after weeks and weeks and weeks. But like the poor kids involved, it's like super fucked up for the parents who dragged them into it. But then it's like you think about the people who probably got dragged in, it's probably already the suffering and the marginalized, so they're easy picking. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um,
And if they're isolating them so heavily, it's all they know. There's even a version of reality where they don't even know 911 exists. They don't know that alternative
yeah,
help exists. Like you don't know what you don't know. It could very much be M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
yeah, yeah. That's actually probably the way to think it because the only thing that wasn't believable about M. Night Shyamalan's The Village is that they had women in charge.
And that's the tea of it all.
Because these tend to be male dominated. And the male dominated hierarchy ensures that power remains concentrated amongst the select few, where women and children have no voice in life and death decisions. And this patriarchal structure creates additional layers of control, where challenging medical neglect means challenging not just religious doctrine, but the entire social order that defines members' identities. Um, and perhaps the most disturbing are the reports of teens and young adults who attempted to flee the community only to be disappeared or shunned so severely that they were vanished from family memory. So some ran away, some were quietly disowned, cut off so completely that even their names aren't spoken anymore. I imagine that plenty of these kids were victims of circumstance once they got away.
Hmm.
Um, like one former elder's daughter has not been seen in over a decade. And because of the shunning, there's no police report, no missing persons alert, just silence.
Jesus,
And
yeah.
there are the ones who tried to escape the conspiracy, and paid the ultimate price, which was the complete erasure of their former lives, like a
This
full-on ego death.
this reminds me of like how serial killers were so prevalent in the 60s and 70s because everyone was just like brushing away missing kids and runaways as just rebellious teens. And
Yeah.
so no one reported anything. And it's how serial killers were able to ramp up and get double digit numbers.
Yeah.
When no one reports you and no one speaks your name and no one posts posters up of you, like you don't exist. It's your people speaking your name, just like the memory of you is the existence of you. And if that's taken away, there is nothing left.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really sad.
And the even more terrifying aspect of all of this is that it's happening right now. Because despite decades of investigations, media exposure, legal reforms, this death cult continues to operate. Some of it is continuing to recruit and therefore continuing to kill. So while the laws try to change, the doctrine definitely hasn't. Oregon eventually repealed its religious exemption laws for manslaughter and child abuse, but that just made the followers of Christ adapt. They became more secretive, more careful about avoiding official scrutiny, but no less committed to their deadly beliefs. Because now church members are just wary of outsiders and they are not willing to speak to reporters about ongoing investigations at all. So the 2023 newborn death investigation reveals now how little has actually changed. Because when the Clackamas County Sheriff's deputies responded to the death, they found the same patterns that have persisted for decades. The family was associated with the church, it was a preventable death, but the community closed ranks to protect the conspiracy. Neighbor Mark Snyder witnessed the aftermath, counting about 75 cars, including two Clackamas County Sheriff Office vehicles, parked along his block in nearby Forest Ridge Road. And when he asked what was happening, a church member told him, "Oh, we're not at liberty to say, but everybody is safe." But everybody wasn't safe. A baby was dead, and the conspiracy machine was already working to minimize exposure and protect the organization. And the financial exploitation allegations add another dimension to the ongoing conspiracy. If reports are true that elders have profited from members through tithes, land holdings, and business deals without transparency, then the followers of Christ isn't just a religious organization anymore. It's a criminal enterprise using faith as a cover for financial fraud. A fact that some of the poorest families are reportedly required to pay tithes while their leaders live comfortably suggests a system designed to extract wealth from vulnerable people under the guise of spiritual obligation. Some may call it the
Hmm.
big, beautiful bill. Oh, my bad.
Oh
There's
yeah,
the
I was
wrong
gonna
thing.
say the big beautiful. Yeah, yeah. Or some would call it paying tithing to the church. I don't know. Who knows? Isn't it weird how like it's the same formula, but the input is different? Like whether
It's,
it's a do it for God or do it to pull yourself up by your
uh,
bootstraps, like people can be hand fed like lies and conspiracy to make them suffer while the
yeah.
people who tell them to do so have private jets. Like it's very interesting how that is the same formula.
I saw a anthropology TikTok that I'm paraphrasing here, but religion tends to follow how people interact with their surroundings. So if you have a monotheistic religion, such as like Christianity, you have a society that's not very in tune with nature because our society mimics what the religion does, which is one person on top. So we have one president, we have one CEO of a company, one head of household, all of this stuff. But if you have societies that interact more with nature, you tend to get more polytheistic gods who
Hmm.
don't really care what you do. They only give a shit if you're not treating nature right.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck if you're naked and party, but like you better be grateful for like the animals that you're killing to eat. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so it's interesting that these types of cults tend to follow that same thing where it's very monotheistic with a man at the top so that they can slowly divert all that power, all that money upward, and it's just copy paste for what we see in the United States right now too. And that's how the United States has always been.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, some would say that's why you need to touch grass. But I also saw this person online. I'm not going to church it up. I saw this girl on TikTok um saying how patriarchal structure is, in a roundabout way, a form of evolution, but not in the good way. It's
Mm-hmm.
that true, like, alphas in humanity don't need patriarchal structure.
Mm-hmm.
True alphas in nature recognize the divine feminine, if you will, right?
Yeah.
It's why male peacocks have to pull the Elton John,
Mm-hmm.
because like they know that the peahens are the ones who hold the purse, if you will. And all of nature is pretty much like that. We almost go against nature. Humanity almost goes against nature by creating patriarchal structure rather than matriarchal structure. And she was saying how it was these pathetic humans, like these impotent, tiny, small, like pathetic um men who as a form of survival came together to say, we're going to be bred out of existence if we don't do X, Y, and Z, because naturally the divine feminine is attracted to the divine masculine, which is like strong, confident, assertive, not a fucking whiny, dumb crybaby, right? And so the
Mm-hmm.
whiny, dumb crybabies were like, fuck, like we're getting bred out of existence. So they create patriarchal structure that feeds into each other to make sure that the pathetic fucking crybaby losers who actually have zero emotional intelligence and can't regulate themselves in the slightest, so much so that if they cut someone off or they get cut off in traffic, they want to shoot and kill someone about it.
Yeah.
Like that's weakness. That is weakness. That's a deficit. That's a lack. You know what I mean? It's an evolutionary lack. You are lacking these things.
Yeah.
And so you create religion, like you create a society built on patriarchy where men have to be the head of household and they specifically have to dull the flames of the femme and women so that they never can reach their full potential. You prevent them from owning property, you prevent them from learning how to read, you prevent them from accessing
Yeah.
education, you prevent them from getting jobs, you prevent them from making as much money as you prevent them from getting the same medical treatment as you. Like when you do that, you are starting you have a head start of fucking 2 hours
Yeah.
before the whistle blows for them to start their lap. Like, and that is not just within like family structures, quote unquote, but it's also in the workforce, it's in the medical
Oh yeah.
field, it's in religion specifically, and in a big way. And that's where you found it, and it's in politics, obviously.
Yep.
um but when adding it into religion, that's when you found, the cherry on top, because it's not just the threat of men, it's the threat of God, who even in some patriarchal religions has deemed as a man rather than an omnipotent being. So
Yeah.
it's like, the literal fear of God is the literal fear of man. So I don't know, just some food for thought.
And another thing, no, I think you're absolutely right. Also, another interesting thing too is whenever you have a war or like a draft, like what we saw with like World War II, for example, the pendulum swing of the cultural zeitgeist tends to be a little bit more quote unquote feminine. That's where we get jumps in civil rights and things like that because we
Yeah.
have removed men from the household and children are being raised in maternal homes without
Yeah.
that. So there's always this crazy pendulum swing. It happened after the Industrial Revolution too. And everyone, we society is at its best when that divine feminine can be pushed down from generation to generation. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that we invented the idea of grandmas and nannies because women as soon as, like, men can have babies forever. Women cannot have babies forever. And then the way that we have fostered their role in society is to help with the child raising
Hmm.
is because we need to pass that on as a species. And then it turns into some sort of weaponized cultural
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
where women
Yeah.
are only meant to procreate,
Yeah.
but we're not meant to lead households when we are in fact hardwired to fucking lead
Wow.
households
Yeah.
once we stop are able to have babies.
That's profound, actually. That's a profound thing to think about.
Isn't that
That's so true.
crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh my, that's really scratching my brain right now.
No, oh
It's
God.
wow.
Ah!
Yeah. No. Interesting. That's really it, huh? Yeah. Like evolutionarily, women go through menopause because they're supposed to be raising the generations, not in a lack of intelligence, stay in the kitchen, make a sandwich way, but in a we need our strongest leaders to create the future
Yep.
generations.
Yep.
And that has
Whereas
been turned,
men can be bouncing from place to
yeah,
place.
because they're,
Women need to stay put.
yeah, they have to stay put in rear. And it's, isn't that interesting too? That like raising children, you are literally creating future generations. What you raise your children to have will be like the morals and values and living history of like you and
Mm-hmm.
everything you believe in. And that has been somehow dwindled down to this like, you know, this thing that really, if you put on a resume, should get you a CEO position. But if
Mm-hmm.
you put on a resume that you've been a homemaker for 18 years, doesn't even get you a job at McDonald's. Isn't that
It's not
fucking
respected at
interesting?
all.
Isn't that fucking
It's
interesting?
it's insane. The and it doesn't even have to be like solely child rearing, but like the support that is required of women to keep a society running. Like if you want to take a snapshot on what evolution has made women become, take a group of strangers and put them in a line at a bathroom. If they're identifying as female, that is creating a fucking clan, and only that feminine energy does that.
Yeah.
It
No,
is
that's
a
so true.
system of support. It's why women have been told to not gossip because they don't want us to congregate. It's why little girls get described like when you see a little girl, you're meant to compliment their physicality only. And it's not even in a creepy way, it's just how our language is. If I see a little girl, you're like, oh, cute, cute dress. I love, oh, cute hair. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, like you look like a princess. And we assign things that they will never obtain. But for little boys, you see a boy with a Tonka trunk or like doing something, you're like, show me those muscles, show me what you can do, and
Yeah.
you will move forward in society. But for a
Whew.
little girl, all
Yeah.
you can be is a princess. All you can be are the clothes you're
Yeah.
wearing. And it's not, that's, we are just, it, we just do that, whether we
Hmm.
mean to or not. And it's because we were out the fucking womb with a boot on our neck, man.
Yeah. But it wasn't, it's against nature. And that's the
It
thing. It's like
is. That's
we
why everyone's so
yeah.
unhappy.
Yes. And that's why things are so fucked and we're in this like stalemate.
Yep.
Because it's against nature and it does feel unnatural, but you have these like systems of oppression like in religion that force it. And when it even goes against like what they say and what they believe, it's in wow, I don't know, it's insane.
Yep.
That 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 menopause thing really just fucking got
Isn't
me,
that
dude.
great? And that's not
That's
saying that like we don't need that masculine energy. It's just masculine energy has been weaponized against what the feminine mystique is supposed to be. And I also think that's why you're getting these fucking incels who just
yeah,
don't get it,
yeah,
because it's not a war. We all got to be working together. It's
yeah,
not like feminism versus you. And until, and it's like girls can pick up on that shit, and that's probably why you're an incel, like because you're
yeah.
fighting against our fundamental fucking survival, which is to just exist and build and prosper.
Hmm.
But if it's not on your terms, you see it as a fucking threat, which is
Yeah,
crazy because
yeah,
that's how society has been since the dawn of man,
yeah. And
or
isn't it
any any mammalistic
yeah,
society.
that's the thing. Any mammalistic society, anything in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild to think about, dude. It's so wild to think about. And
Yeah.
it's like we can all even the most sexist of men can admit that like a femme individual has more innate in tuneness with like emotions and emotional
Yeah.
intelligence and empathy and sympathy and understanding and the ability to like see where other people are coming from. Even the most incel of men can agree with that. And yet they
Yeah.
will say in the same sentence that like femme people should not be in positions of power because they're too emotional.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But
It's
they'll use their dicks and their fists anytime they're fucking upset, and we're the emotional ones.
yeah, the two they've separated like
Yeah.
even these patriarchal societies have taken the emotions that are unhinged and unmanaged and said, but that actually means power and smart and grit.
Yeah.
And that's a completely man-made against nature societal norm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Anyway.
All that to say, the pattern of incomplete or altered death records raises even more disturbing questions, because that means that these burial records are being deliberately obscured and that these unmarked graves have to exist. So that suggests even further that there is a systematic cover up designed to hide the true extent of the organization's death toll. They are evidence tampering and obstructing justice on a massive scale. So you can't say let's stop here because there is literally only one page left.
Okay, fine. Keep going.
Okay, well, but we'll power through it. The psychological control mechanisms remain as powerful as ever. Current members continue to live in fear of shunning, trapped in a system where leaving means losing everything they've ever known. And Myra's Cunningham's advice to current members is just, I'd say leave. Leave because you're not going to lose your salvation. But it falls on deaf ears because they're all conditioned to hear such words as satanic temptation. And the conspiracy's reach extends far beyond Oregon because similar followers of Christ communities operate in Idaho, Oklahoma, and other states, as we stated, and they all have a network of affiliated shared doctrine. And while some operate with varying degrees of independence, the core beliefs that make medical neglect a religious requirement remain consistent across locations. And we may never know the full scope of this conspiracy. We're never going to know how many children have died, how many deaths were never even reported to authorities, or how many families have been destroyed by a system that prioritizes doctrine over human life. And they continue to perfect the art of hiding in plain sight. They own businesses, they send their children to public schools, and they present themselves as law-abiding citizens. But behind closed doors, the conspiracy continues. Children are being born into families where 911 is considered to be a sin. Parents are still being conditioned to watch their children suffer rather than seek medical care. And church leaders are still profiting financially and psychologically from a system that transforms love into a weapon of control. And the followers of Christ have operated with impunity for over a century, leaving a trail of dead kids and traumatized survivors in its wake. And it's time for half measures and religious accommodation to pass, because it's not about religious freedom anymore. It's about stopping an ongoing criminal enterprise that uses faith as a cover up for child abuse and murder. And law enforcement agencies must treat the followers of Christ for what they are: a dangerous organization engaged in systematic child endangerment. Every death linked to medical neglect should trigger a full criminal investigation, and not just of the immediate parents, but of the church itself and all the church leaders who create and enforce the doctrine that makes such deaths inevitable.
Yeah, well, I think it's like the same thing. If you and I go rob a bank and I'm the driver and you're the robber, but you shoot and kill the security guard, I get clipped up too. I'm
Yeah,
involved too. Like everyone gets a slice of the
yeah.
pie of retribution.
It's the Rico. I learned that from Batman. Everyone in part of the conspiracy is still part of the overall plot. It doesn't matter what your role was. You get one, you can get everyone else.
Yeah, tell that to Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Not Ted Bundy. I meant Charles
I
Manson.
yeah. I was like, at first I was like, yep. Wait,
You were
I
like,
don't know how it's
yeah,
Ted Bundy already got.
tell it
And
to Ted
Charles
Bundy.
Manson.
No, tell it to Charles Manson.
Yeah. So if church leaders are indeed profiting from members through questionable financial arrangements, while those same members are required to watch their children die rather than spend money on medical care, this represents fraud on a massive scale. So financial records should be subpoenaed, property transfers should be examined, and the flow of money through the organization should be fully exposed. Going further, The burial record irregularities demand forensic investigation. It's crazy that we haven't done any of this. Ground penetrating radar, at the very least, should be brought in.
Hmm.
Child protective services, at the very least, should be brought in. Like, how is an organization's history of child deaths not triggering automatic welfare checks and mandatory medical examinations for all children in member families? Because religious freedom does not extend to the right to endanger children's lives.
I agree, but some constitutional absolutionists
Yeah.
might say otherwise.
Well, and that's how the followers of Christ are able to succeed because they rely on secrecy and public indifference to continue their deadly practices. And sustained media attention does make it harder for them to operate in the shadows, but ultimately, survivors aren't really encouraged to come forward with their stories.
Also, I think like we have one of the most, I don't want to say we have one of the most perfect examples of like the First Amendment going against like causing harm, going against like what's right and wrong. And like with Scientology, people have been trying to fight them with the legal system since they basically formed, and there's nothing but evidence to prove it, and it still has gone
Yeah.
nowhere. So it's like, and that's Scientology. That's the one that basically every single person knows of and can agree is a fucking crazy kooky cult. So imagine if you're this like podunk ass cult, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
probably think you have absolutely no power to do anything. If they can't do it to the one everyone knows and that everyone can agree is a fucking
Yeah.
death cult in a way,
What's the
like
point?
what are you? Yeah.
Especially if people are literally being disappeared like when they leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, the shittiest thing, I guess, on top of all the dead kids, is that the Church of Christ is preparing the next generation of parents who are going to be conditioned to watch their children die rather than pick up a phone and call for help. So it's important that the we don't just dive into the followers of Christ as some sort of historical story, but it's literally a current warning about what happens when we allow faith to become a weapon, when we continue to mistake control for love, and when we permit the systemic abuse of children in the name of religious freedom. It's happening everywhere, and the church, the followers of Christ, are still out there, still meeting, still praying, still killing, and we continue to do nothing about it.
And that's on every religious group in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
um yeah, man. It's it's so interesting to think about how these like legislative ideology, something like, you know, the First Amendment, the freedom to religion comes from like a, I don't want to say pure, but a place that had thought out ideology that says like, no, we can't have a boot on our neck. We can't all be like funneled into this one thing. People have the right to like choose, right? And that's where it
yeah,
comes from. And yet it's become so corrupted and bastardized that it's now resulting in, you know, kids dying, people being disappeared, and the state just having to like wash its hands and be like, oh, well, it's their right to religion to be able to do that. It's just wildly, I mean, the same thing could go for, the right to bear arms when and I say that as a gun owner.
yeah,
Um, when that was written, they weren't thinking about fucking Joe Blow with his GED having a
yeah.
fucking AK-47. They were thinking about the goddamn British.
Just the little
Yeah,
the pump and goes.
a fucking musket that takes 10 minutes to reload, not a
Yeah.
semi-automatic assault rifle. Like
Mhm.
but it's like the bastardization of it all. We've come so far from the light, and the freedom of religion is not exempt of that. The bastardization of it all, that it went from, like we were talking about before, it went from coming from the origins of freedom to
Mhm.
the end goal, or the not the end goal, but the end that is oppression and authoritarianism. But I
Yeah.
mean, that tracks with everything, right? Capitalism in decay is fascism, is authoritarianism. That's kind of where all this comes from.
It's people becoming the villain at the end of the day. Like a badass back in the day was like no taxation without representation, but now will open mouth accept tariffs, making our groceries unaffordable. But because it's the devil that they know and subscribe to, they're okay with it. But then they want to be like, oh, don't tread on me though. It's like
Yeah.
the call is in your house, babe. Like it's just so insane how, man, you think so there, okay, there's 2 points of solace here and like also shittiness of like, okay, well, it keeps getting worse.
Hmm.
So that sucks. But then I'm like, oh, it's always been shit. And
Yeah.
we have survived that too.
Yeah. It's always
So
been shit, but we persist.
yeah, it's like, oh, this is just the same shit over and over, and it's been happening since the dawn of man. But then
But
it's
it,
like, well, then what changes?
well, I think it's kind of what you were speaking about. These blips, these these blips of progress come from individuals pushing back. It doesn't come from subservience. It comes from someone somewhere saying, I'm fucking fed up and getting a version of a coalition together. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's where it comes from because you can, just like you said with World War II and like femme individuals having to come into head of household quote unquote positions and seeing this massive move forward in society. Just like, the civil rights movement didn't happen because like someone woke up and was like, hey, actually, it's people got fed up enough to say the need to change is bigger than my need for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the consistent. Yes, there is a linear line from A to B, A being creation of humanity, B being right where we're at right now. That is a steady line of shit. It's the same thing over and over again, but there are blips in between it. And those are moments of revolutionary ideology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think. uh,
Oh, fuck.
because yeah, I mean, like even women having jobs was a revolutionary thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And now
yeah,
women keeping their last names, choosing to not have children, a lot of
yeah,
cool things.
yeah,
And shout out to the men, well, I don't want to say like men. Shout out to those who subscribe more to the masculine who hold that shit down. Like the guys who are cool with letting their little girls be so feminine, and the guys who are cool with their little boys wearing dresses and shit, who are like, yeah, I don't give a shit. That's just how they express themselves,
yeah.
because
Well,
that's
I think
also punk rock.
I think that's the true alpha ideology. When people want to consider themselves alpha, but then they cry and bitch and moan and post on Facebook a 30-minute video that they filmed in their car because some boy has nail polish on, you're the snowflake. You're the sensitive weakling.
Mm-hmm.
You're so fragile and unregulated that something as simple and non-invasive and that has nothing to do with you as nail polish on someone's finger can send you into
Yeah.
a spiral. You are the weak link. You are the broken portion of humanity. And yet you think that like you're the blueprint, you're the alpha. No, you're the pathetic fucking loser who's so insecure and their ego is so tiny and fragile. That's who you are. You're not the one that people want to reproduce bloodlines with because you are
Yeah.
the weakling
Yeah. Exactly. That's why you're a little incel.
or a big incel who takes steroids.
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin.
Oh
Um,
man. We should make anti-incel shirts.
what would that look like?
I don't know.
Just it says just kill yourself. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know that like we need to like bring people over and you catch more flies with honey nut vinegar. But, you know,
Oh, I will
there's
think of something sassy. If anyone has something really rancid, I would love to put it on a shirt.
yeah, let me know. But anyway, I'm actually going to go ahead and give this hail to you, Chelsea, because your segment there about the evolution of women's fertility being the signifier of power in an evolutionary way, but human society has turned it into the negative. That really got my brain going.
Isn't that crazy?
It is because like this moment in, people who have uteruses and go through menopause, it's this moment of like they almost feel like a death,
Yeah.
but it really should be this moment of empowerment that like your community around you surrounds you with because like now you're like the elder of the tribe. You
You
you know what
should
I
be
mean? Like
revered, right?
yes,
Like
yes,
we
yeah.
have such reverence of this mysticism in other societies where if you become the elder of the tribe, you're meant to be respected. But for some reason, it applies to everybody. But the ladies who just can't have babies anymore immediately
Yeah.
are like old crones. Like, look at even the language for women who
Yeah.
don't have children. It's
Spinster, crone,
yeah. Whereas men who don't have children, it's like what a bachelor
bachelor.
or
Yeah.
Liberace, like all
Yeah.
this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
Casanova.
even thinking about the way that, like, society at large views men's ability to have children up until the day that they die, honestly,
Yeah.
as this, like, evidence of superiority, when actually, peace and love, it's like the evidence of inferiority because
Hmm.
they're disposable. They're almost like this, it's if you have
Yeah.
a soda machine in your house that never ends, are you really like that excited about getting Coke that day? You get it every day. Who fucking cares? Like
Hmm.
there's nothing special
Yeah.
about it. It's mundane.
Yeah. It's like I can't eat any more sugar. I need a vegetable. Like you're just grains of sugar and we are substance of the earth.
Yeah. So that was very interesting to think about. But yeah, so that helps for you.
Oh, thank you. I am going to say uh hail.
Yep, let it out.
Man, I got such a brain fart. I'm gonna say hail to
Hmm.
the I'm just gonna do I'm gonna say hail Shania Twain for giving
Okay.
us Let's Go Girls and giving the power within that. So hail Let's Go Girls, that single line of music.
I'll also give a combined hail to Jamie, our listener, who came through Utah to drop off some, I think, one little doggy to a no-kill shelter, saving them from a kill shelter to bring them to a no-kill shelter. We're so sorry we missed you. We were literally the most busy, and as you heard from the beginning of this episode, life has been a little chaotic, but we love you so much. Love everything you do.
Yeah, that's for those who don't know, drove across state lines to make sure that a dog would be given the best chance here. It was what charity got? Was it Best Friends?
I think so. Don't quote me on it because I was doing 7,000 things when we were
Yeah.
going back and forth on talking about donating.
The cool thing about Best Friends Animal Society is that when you go in, the animals are they're in like, they're not in cages or almost in their little rooms. It's very interactive. Like the animals are well cared for. And that's not like shitting on any other organization like the Humane Society that's like up to their ears in animals and no resources. But Best Friends is super cool. I tried to get a dog from them before I went with a different route with Puffin, but that's like a really badass thing to do to like
Yeah.
put yourself out that hard to save a dog.
Yeah. Also, that's community, mama. That's how you make the community. You get up and do it yourself. So shout out. Big shout out to that. Very inspirational and we love you for it. So, um, speaking of things we love, you can click the link in all of our bios. We are at Go to Hell Podcast. I'm at Noelle Fain. That is at Sithbard. And in those bios, you can click a link tree link that will open up our Discord server. I got a gaming computer, bitches. So the gaming channel
Ooh.
should be up and talking. I'm trying to play Rivals. Let's fucking play, bitch. So join the Discord server. We also have a link to our Patreon. $1 gets you in. Fun little comeback episode today. We fell back into the old ways of talking about movies and comics. So
Yeah.
um a fun diversion from our usual doom and gloom. So that's a fun episode to listen to. We also have a link to our merch. 100% of the proceeds are donated. We have super cool shit in there from Kelly Holloran. She makes cool shit for us. She makes cool shit in general. So check her out on Etsy under Wildwood Owl. There's also a link directly to her Etsy on there. And we have a link to our YouTube channel where you can go into the comments and bully us. We do encourage it. We do love it, and we will reply to you. So check us out on YouTube. And I don't know why you'd need it, but there's also a link to listen to us, which is anywhere podcasts are heard.
Oh yeah.
So again, I'll also give a hail to all of our listeners for sticking through this like little over a month break that we've had. Was super unintentional, but also unavoidable. And I appreciate having a little bit of room to wiggle while everything falls apart around me because
Yeah.
being able to kind of like take a breather as I in between flights and stress and nonsense breaking, it's nice to know that like we have a community of people who are like, dude, whatever, just bounce back when you're ready.
Yeah.
And then who will
And
welcome us with open arms.
maybe one thing for me that would be fun is to do little comic book reviews and throw them up in the Patreon. Uh, maybe I can troubleshoot more ways because Noelle's job is so fucking taxing, and there are times where I have downtime and I just want to talk.
Yeah, grab people on to talk with you. Yeah, because I'll be
uh,
traveling again next week. But I plan on penciling in some stuff
yeah,
before then so we can try
we
to be more prepared. The shitty thing is
yeah,
like sometimes I have to travel with little notice, so it's hard for
yeah,
us to like prep in advance.
yeah. Noelle literally gets shit put on her calendar with no notice at all. She called me at 9 p.m. the other day to work, which was crazy.
It was
But
midnight where I was,
yeah,
by the way.
we have been texting some cool ideas back and forth. So we're definitely not hurting for content.
Yeah, we just got to make the time to do it. So, and still make quality content, which is the thing, because we can put out shitty episodes till the fucking cows come home, but that's not what we're trying to give you guys. So,
Yeah, we're trying our hardest.
okay. So, yeah, with that, um, let's get the fuck out of here.
Okay, bye.
Bye.